Othello. 400 years ago there lived in Venice an ensign named Iago, who hated his general Othello for not making him a lieutenant. Instead of Iago, who was strongly recommended, Othello had chosen Michael Cassio, whose smooth tongue had helped him to win the heart of Desdemona. Iago had a friend called Rodrigo, who supplied him with money and felt he could not be happy unless Desdemona was his wife. Othello was a Moor, but of so dark a complexion that his enemies called him a blackamoor. His life had been hard and exciting. He had been vanquished in battle and sold into slavery, and he had been a great traveller and seen men whose shoulders were higher than their heads. Brave as a lion, he had one great fault: jealousy. His love was a terrible selfishness. To love a woman meant with him to possess her as absolutely as he possessed something that did not live and think. The story of Othello is a story of jealousy. One night Iago told Rodrigo that Othello had carried off Desdemona without the knowledge of her father, Brabantio. He persuaded Rodrigo to arouse Brabantio, and when that senator appeared, Iago had told him of Desdemona's elopement in the most unpleasant way. Though he was Othello's officer, he termed him a thief and a Barbary horse. Brabantio accused Othello before the Duke of Venice of using sorcery to fascinate his daughter, but Othello said that the only sorcery he used was his voice, which told Desdemona his adventures and hairbreadth escapes. Desdemona was led into the council chamber, and she explained how she could love Othello despite his almost black face by saying, "I saw Othello's visage in his mind." As Othello had married Desdemona, and she was glad to be his wife, there were no more to be said against him, especially as the Duke wished him to go to Cyprus to defend it against the Turks. Othello was quite ready to go, and Desdemona, who pleaded to go with him, was permitted to join him at Cyprus. Othello's feelings on landing in this island were intensely joyful. "Oh, my sweet," he said to Desdemona, who arrived with Iago and Rodrigo, "I hardly know what I say to you. I am in love with my own happiness." News coming presently that the Turkish fleet was out of action, he proclaimed a festival in Cyprus from 5 to 11 at night. Cassio was on duty in the castle where Othello ruled Cyprus, so Iago decided to make the lieutenant drink too much. He had some difficulty, as Cassio knew that wine soon went to his head, but servants brought wine into the room where Cassio was, and Iago sang a drinking song, and so Cassio lifted a glass too often to the health of the general. When Cassio was inclined to be quarrelsome, Iago told Rodrigo to say something unpleasant to him. Cassio cudgelled Rodrigo, who ran into the presence of Montano, the ex-governor. Montano civilly interceded for Rodrigo, but received so rude an answer from Cassio that he said, "Come, come, you're drunk." Cassio then wounded him, and Iago sent Rodrigo out to scare the town with a cry of mutiny. The uproar aroused Othello, who, on learning its cause, said, "Cassio, I love thee, but never more be an officer of mine." On Cassio and Iago being alone together, the disgraced man moaned about his reputation.